Hi, Mermaid Junkies. How are you? I have a little visitor, so I might have to turn the camera off if he gets a little rambunctious, which he probably won't. But what I would love to talk about today is how I became an excellent manifester. Now, I'm going to give a couple of things that I did, and I'm going to speak about how my journey with law of attraction sort of began. So the first one was, I think it started to happen when I was in California. And this was the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. And, you know, like as some of you guys know, I was actually starting to have a lot of I was always questioning things, you know. I was always questioning the universe. I was always questioning like things that no longer made sense to me. I really felt like I just wanted to know. And I remember sitting on the couch one night, and this is when I was like deathly ill. I mean, I was so sick. I had like 5 different separate infections. And I think what it was is the universe was basically showing me that because I was not living authentically, you know, my truth, that my body, the metaphysical part started to take over, and I just started to get really, really sick. Like, you know, you can go so long and, you know, be on prescription pills for depression and you know, or starving yourself or eating a lot. You know, everybody uses these different tools. I don't know if you'd call them tools, but like these different ways as an outlet because we're not aligned. And I think that because I was a very religious person, that there was this realm of particulars that I felt that were more justifiable in doing. Does that make any sense? Like, I didn't feel like, you know, spiritually like, okay, so, you know, to do drugs is not an option. Well, furthermore, I wouldn't ever do drugs just because I've had like a really deep belief system drilled into me as a young girl. And so that doesn't mean that I think I'm better than anybody that does drugs or drinks alcohol or anything like that, because by all means, I can really fully admit that I, you know, drink alcohol and stuff. And so, whereas before, you know, I never really did that because I felt like it was, you know, it was like a no-no in the scheme, and not the scheme, that's probably not a good word, but in the whole realm or the aspect of like this guideline to what you can do and cannot do. And I really want to talk on another video too about this particular, you know, the contradictions between like spirituality and religion. And so that's going to be a really, really good video. And I think it would be very, very helpful for those people that are my friends that that struggle with, you know, spirituality, you know, versus religion, because it's a very, very difficult thing. It's actually quite terrifying when you think about it, like, for my spiritual awakening, because anyway, I'm gonna get all emotional like thinking about that, because I love my friends and I love you guys so much, and I'm so much into wanting to inspire you and help you to not feel like you're so completely alone in your process of, like, if you're wanting to spiritually awaken but you're really terrified to do it, because when you look at it compared to like the aspect of religion being in your life, if you've had this great sense of religious background, it can be quite daunting of a thought, just even the thought of it, you know, of abandoning that type of lifestyle and that belief systems that you've had since you were ingrained in as a little child, you know. But anyway, so my whole thing about manifesting is okay, so this was like the catalyst that kind of got me onto the whole spiritual awakening. And it was basically like, okay, so let's go back a little bit before that. Okay, so about 13 years ago, I guess it was like, let's see, it was in 2004. We had just moved back to Orlando, you know, my children and my ex. And I remember like he was in television at the time too, and I remember like in Oklahoma, not Oklahoma, I'm sorry, in Ohio, we had previously lived there, and then Utah before that. Well, when we lived in Utah, you know, we fit the whole entire mold of that kind of thing, and but there were moments when we moved to Ohio shortly after that that I started. Now that is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen? If you don't come to my videos for anything else but to watch Ollie, Oliver is just the cutest thing, right? So anyway, so okay, so fast forward. Okay, so fast forward. We're living in Orlando. We just moved there. My ex-husband had gotten a big contract, and I remember, like, you know, they would get guests and stuff on their TV shows, and I remember him bringing home the Conversations with God. Like, that was back in Alabama when I lived there, Conversations with God, and I like threw the book out because I was like freaked out, because I was like, oh my God, this is that crazy stuff, right? Especially if you can relate to me, if you're a very religious person, right? You're thinking, oh, that's all that, you know, third eye pyramid stuff, and you're like, it freaks you out. And then I remember, so I threw that book away, and then I remember when we moved to Orlando, and they had this guest on, and I don't know who the guest was, but my ex came home with The Secret. It was the book, but you also opened the back of it, and the jacket had the DVD in it. Now, fast forward 14 years later, which is interesting because it's like Abraham Hicks, which I completely believe she is the full angel, like she is the real McCoy. And that's not to say that, you know, there's not other spiritual enlightened people or people that are channeling. I mean, if you want to use that word, because that's probably the best way to say it, is channeling, you know. But anyway, there's a secret behind the secret if you ever want to look that up, because it's kind of like The Secret doesn't tell what the secret is, if that makes any sense. And I mean, it's a great tool. I'm sure it's assisted in helping a lot of people, but it seemed like it was more towards a manifesting thing. And then they ended up pulling Esther and Jerry Hicks out of it. Like, Abraham is channeled through Esther. And so they ended up pulling their video. So there's like this whole long story about it. There's no, you know, upheaval or anything like that, but it was just it was a tool at the time. And so I thought it was very interesting, because I still, at the time, this was in 2003 or 4, 2003, I was still very reluctant. Like, I didn't want that kind of, I felt like it was like voodoo-y scary stuff, you know, like I didn't want that in my house. But anyway, okay, so I'm telling you all of this because I think it's the universe's way of me always questioning, because I was always questioning things and that sort of thing, especially spiritually, you know, because I always wanted to know, like, the mysteries of the kingdom and the mysteries, you know, when I was religious, like, oh, what's this all about, and whatever, you know. And so I think that was the universe's way of kind of like subtly sending me all of these little signs. But of course I wasn't ready to receive those signs, because like it freaked me out. Like, it freaks you out if you're a religious person, because you start to question everything. And like, if you're breaking down every single thing in your life, it's terrifying, you know? So anyway, so once again, I donated that secret thing. I was like, get this out of the house. You know, we're not into that stuff. And, you know, those poor souls, you know, like they don't know God and whatever. And like, little did I know that it's like, that's all it is about God. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that makes any sense. Okay, so the thing that sparked me into manifesting is that one night, like I said, when I was really super, super sick, and I had been sleeping on the couch for like 2 weeks, because I was going to keep my ex up and everything, and, you know, because of me getting up and down, up and down. And at the time, you guys, we didn't have health insurance, because it's extremely expensive to live in San Diego, California. And we had just come from Orlando, and my ex had been unemployed for a year and a half. So we were living on savings. And so we were like down to our last like $5,000 or something like that. And I mean, we were stretching it to even get out to California at this point when he had gotten another job. And so anyway, so it's 6 months in or something, like we didn't live there, but like a year. And so I'm really deathly sick. And so what better way for I mean, I know it sounds like horrific, but I feel like now it was a blessing in disguise, because I was so sick. And I don't know if it's a redhead, like I've heard that it's in the genes of a redhead, that like they have a high tolerance for pain, like heat. Like when I take a shower, I put it on all hot water, like, and it feels good to me. Like it's not hot or anything like that. And so I think it's odd for some people, because I'll like put my hand like in the oven, and I just have a very high tolerance for pain. And so I was having all of this sickness. And I guess that was the way that like universe knew that I could handle lots of physical pain. So I needed like 6 different infections and illnesses to like get my attention. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to rectify this in my mind, because I'm thinking that's probably what it was to me anyway. And that's, you know, I feel good about thinking that. So, but it really caused me when I was sleeping on the couch every night. And I just remember waking up, and, you know, I was reading a lot, because when I would get those small little incremental moments of not feeling like a, you know, horrific pain, like I was coming out of it, you know. So I was reading a lot, obviously, because I always read a lot, you know. And so I went to the library and I got like oodles of books. I think I got like 12 books or something. And so this is when I started like getting back into, I was starting to feel like, you know, I know I'm an artist. I'd been one, you know, I had always wanted to be an artist and a writer since I was a little girl. And I had always loved Beatrix Potter and Tasha Tudor and that kind of thing. And so that really resonated with me. And so I went and got a bunch of like autobiographies and different things, like writings on these women. And I reached out to a couple of like artists that are now famous, like, or, you know, published authors and stuff. And so I was just reading and reading and reading. And I remember one night that I just looked up and I was, you know, I said prayers, you know, I was praying and I was like, God, I want to love like you. I mean, whoever you are, I don't care. I just feel like I was at such a point in my life where I was so unhappy, you guys. And, you know, I could blame it on, you know, my ex or whatever, but I mean, and that was a massive thing in my life. It was so instrumental in my transformation. And so I can't help but always bring that up, just for the sheer fact that it's experience teaches, you know. And words don't teach. I mean, I can sit here and tell you all these different things about things that occurred in my life or whatever, but only for the ability for you to understand through inspiration that this is the things that I went through, and in hopes that it will inspire you or encourage you, because I know that everybody's life's so different. And so, you know, but I needed a way or an outlet. And that's, like I said so many times before, is that's the reason that I started the YouTube channel. So anyway, I'm praying. I know I ramble. I'm 13 minutes in. I still haven't even gotten to the point, but it'll be really quick. So, I just remember praying, and like I think I had read my scriptures or something, and I had read the Bible or something, and there was another question that, like, not periodically, but like quite consistently through this 2 weeks, when I was on the couch and I was so ill, that I just started feeling like everything was falling apart, you know? Like inside I had been falling apart for so long, but I was able to hold it together because I'm a very good pretender. You know, I'm no longer like that now. But at the time, I had learned to put on this facade, you know, and I always look at it. That's why my mermaids, like if you've ever looked at my art and stuff, all my mermaids, their tails have patched. It looks like patchwork quilts. And so, oh my God, I'm going to get emotional again. But the reason that I do, oh, jeez. The reason that I paint like that, I'm gonna have to stop the camera. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I'm not unhappy or anything. I'm totally happy. Like, I was totally excited to do this video, and like, I don't know where this is coming from. Notice how I get really red? And I always want to talk because that makes me feel better, because I'm like, it helps me to like get over the hump, you know, of feeling so emotional. Like, I'm so emotional all the time because I'm a Pisces. I swear to God, I think that's what it is. But more sensitive. Like, I'll just sit there and be laughing and happy one minute, just like this. You know, this is like a prime example of like, and then I'll burst into tears. And I guess it's just a release. I don't know. I mean, I just meditated, and it was a very, very good meditation. Like, I'd never felt certain things in my meditations before. And, so anyway, but like I was saying, is that my art, the reason that all the mermaids have their tails are patched, and it looks like they've put, you know, I put little patchwork pieces on their tails, is because I always felt like that a mermaid's so beautiful, like externally she's so beautiful, but every mermaid has a tail, you know, I mean, a story to tell, you know, and we all, especially if you're older, we all come with a story. And not that we want to be reminded about that story, but just those little patchwork things are kind of reminders that, like, oh my God, I've been through hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a reminder. It doesn't make me sad when I paint those. It actually is a very liberating feeling. But that's like my own little signature thing, is like, I know you have a story. We all have stories. Like, some of us are like, I was about to curse, but some of our tails are really, really, really patched up. And some of are less patched up, maybe, but no one's equally as, you know, less or more. But anyway, that's the reason that my mermaids always have those patchwork little pieces of fabric on their tails, because I think it was just my way of, as an artist, just understanding that there's, you know, everybody has a story, and we all come through life and we're still beautiful. We're still that gorgeous mermaid, but there, you know, we all have wounds and stuff that we've healed from, and we've been sewn together and happily, you know, and when we're still going through it. So anyway, so when I was on the couch that night, and I remember it was a very pleading prayer. I don't know if you're a very spiritual person like that, but like sometimes I would really, really, really feel intensely, I would feel very intensely about a particular thing, like a question that I wanted to answer from God. And I was in so much pain, and there was nowhere for me to go except for internally. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was so sick. I thought I would rather die. I mean, and I won't give you the details about the pain and stuff, but if you can imagine the worst 6 different illnesses and infections that a woman could have at one time, that's not even counting dental problems, right? And you don't have insurance, and you can't go to a doctor. I mean, I could, but I mean, where were we going to come up? I mean, we were debt free, and I didn't want to. I mean, you just go to the emergency room, and all of a sudden they just charge you $2,000. Like, I mean, I wasn't looking at life in the same aspect as I do now about manifesting. So I was very reluctant to go, and I just was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to heal myself through oils. But anyway, and it ended up working, and I was fine. But at the time, that was my very first transformational journey, the beginning of it. And so I remember saying, you know, God, there has to be, I was like, God, there has to be another answer. Like, I was just questioning everything in my life, and you know, I had learned of, like, I was watching YouTube one night and I had learned of like these spiritual awakened people on YouTube and stuff. And it just started making me think, you know, like, I wanted to know these different mysteries of like the universe and law of attraction and stuff. And so I just started asking questions to the universe, like in a prayerful manner, because I was like, I was a very religious person. So I was like, you know what? I want to know the mysteries of this world. Like everything that I challenge, like even in religion, because I was Pentecostal first, like growing up from like, you know, incubation in my mommy's tummy until I was 15. And then I converted to a Mormon at 15. Well, I didn't get baptized until I was 17 because I wasn't allowed, but I started going to the church when I was 15. And so I was very indoctrinated as far as religion goes, you know? So those things actually was the main reason I think that it took me so long. Well, it didn't really take me a long time, but I guess in a sense it did. It took me several more years before I would actually like start to accept, maybe, like, so number one was I started questioning the universe about manifest. Okay, so remember I was saying that this video is about manifesting, like how I became an excellent manifester. Is that the first one is that I started asking questions. Like I asked that question that night, and I just put it out there, and I didn't think anything else about it until I started finding all these videos, and I was like, maybe this is my answer. Like, and that was number two, is that I was becoming more open to seeing things differently, you know, not being so scared of like The Secret and Conversations with God and those kind of spiritual awakening books and stuff. And so I think that was number two, is that I became more open, like, you know what, maybe this is all an illusion. Maybe this is not what I've always thought it was. Like maybe I'm questioning my beliefs now. And so I think that was, you know, always sitting down. Look at him, is he so cute? But like I said, I think that was the things that helped me, is that number two is I became more open. And then after I started to ask the questions, I started to listen. Like I started to think, okay, maybe this person's coming into my life for a particular reason. And then I met, like, I guess within those 2 weeks of being on the couch, I met my friend Cindy. And she's a spiritually awakened person too. And she, you know, was a Mormon at the time. And she, you know, she had no longer practiced the Mormon faith or whatever. And so, you know, I would just talk to her, and we would spend long, long conversations, and just really, really, we were very, you know, had a lot of things in common and stuff. And so it was really helpful, especially when you come from a very religious background, especially a Mormon belief, you know, because it's very, very taboo, like to start diving into that kind of thing, you know, reincarnation and spiritual awakening and that kind of stuff, because it totally is the opposite of religion, right? And so I felt like there was nobody that I could really physically, as far as like verbally talking to, that were my friends and stuff. Like I didn't have anybody, because you're so in this box and this bubble when you're a religion, especially being, you know, that I was LDS and stuff. But I would like to let me just preface this right now, because I don't want anybody to ever think that, you know I have religious friends, and I also know that my subscribers, you know, many of them are Mormons. And so I wouldn't ever want you to think that I think like, oh my goodness, I don't agree, you know, as far as like, oh, Mormons are this or that, because both those religions served me extremely well, and I'm so indeed thankful. And I still to this day think both religions are so beautiful, and if they serve that person or whoever's out there, if they serve you in a way that is beneficial for you and you find such comfort and peace in it, then I believe that it's completely wonderful that that you are that way. You know, I never want to be that kind of person that's like, oh, that's just not the, you know, I'm not like that at all. Absolutely, I'm completely the opposite of a person in that manner. Because I think a lot of times people like have this distaste and like, you know, want to turn things on its head and stuff. And it's like, you know what? I mean, you just have to appreciate everything, because the universe is giving you things that incrementally, as you accept them. You know, the universe is always, you know, putting things into our lives in the way that the universe knows that we will be receptive to those particular things. And so I think that me having my friend and meeting her, and she came from, you know, a previous Mormon religion, really comforted me and helped me to feel that I wasn't completely alone myself in this particular transition that I was going through. And so what happened was, I think those couple of questions, like those first little steps that occurred in my life, the one thing that really set me on its head was, you know, at the time, my ex and I were really, I felt like I was really starting to pull away from him. Like all of those years, I remember from the time I had seen that secret book, remember, in Orlando, I never expressed my feelings because, like I said, I just buried them, because I always thought like, oh, it's just, you know, it's that time of the month or something, or I'm just being super sensitive, because that's what people had told me, like, you're just way too sensitive, Raquel, you know, or whatever. But I had really, that was such a sense of, my marriage was a really huge component in me feeling like there has to be something more. Like, why aren't I happy? Like, why am I mean, I have all of this stuff. Like, I had money. I had, you know, we had a great status. My husband, you know, was in movies. You know, our kids were well adjusted. We all, you know, went to church. We did all of our stuff. We followed the list, you know, the list that subconsciously is in your mind that you've been, you know, ingrained with, is like, okay, so we do this, we do this, we do this, and I'm still freaking miserable. Like, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have like a soulmate relationship. Like, I had been questioning that for years, like over a decade. But because I was so petrified into questioning like the hardcore stuff, that I was like, there is no freaking way. Like, no, I can't even go there. Like, I can't go there to like think about a divorce and think about, you know, my kids and religion and this and that. Like, it just overwhelmed me. And I was just like, oh, hell no, I am not doing that. No. That is too scary for me. And so, you know, but I have to say about the manifesting, and that's when, like I said, when I moved to Oklahoma and I was really getting into it, and I had been into it like when we were in California, but I was really becoming completely like more detached from my spouse and more detached from everybody, like more detached from religion, my church. Like, I didn't want to do my callings. And if you know anything about Mormons, like, I just didn't want to attend. Like, I didn't want to have the missionaries over. I just didn't want to do any of the protocol. It was like, why am I still so depressed? Like, I no longer could get depression pills, you know? And I'm like, why are like 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams, like you could drop an elephant from the amount before insurance was canceled in the amount of depression milligrams that I was taking in a day. And I'm like, why am I so unhappy? You know, it's like I never ate myself into, you know, as a way of kind of pressing down those emotions. Does that make sense? Like, am I even making sense, or am I just completely rambling? Like, I think that you guys, that the ones that are receptive to knowing, like, internally, like what that feels like to be so depressed, and like, there's a reason why we, you know, whatever we're doing, because we're such highly sensitive spirits. And so like, there's a reason why, if you completely have that look of a perfect family, you know, your family dresses well, you're pretty affluent, you know, as far as like financial means, and all these kind of things. And it just goes to show you that you can have the picture perfect life, and if you're still needing, like I was still needing, like I was in the throes of anorexia, I was taking depression pills, like so much so because I was like, okay, it's not working, like I'm not getting enough, like this is not enough milligrams, like I really need to go back to the doctor, like because I'm still freaking depressed. Like I'm thinking about suicide. Like it got to the point, you guys, where I was thinking about suicide probably 4 or 5 times a day. And I was really methodically thinking it out, like, okay, like I'm not going to shoot myself. Like I'm going to probably just take a lot of my extra pills and just, you know, like tell everybody in my family I'm going somewhere or whatever, you know, like on a trip or something. And, I'll be back later, whatever. And like, I had really thought this out, like, and I'll just take an extra amount, like I'll get something that's going to like take the bitterness away. And you know what I'm saying? And like, that is so unhealthy. And it's because I was so afraid. I was so afraid to feel my feelings and my emotions and like what I was going through and why I was so unhappy in my life. And you know, I don't blame anyone for those things. It's just that it's like, it doesn't help when it's contributed from feeling like this circle of influence that we're around is like, when you only have people that believe a certain way, you know, they only believe a certain way. So when you start to tell somebody like, no, I'm feeling this way. No, I'm feeling this way. And the first thing that they want for you to do is they want to control the situation. They want to control the condition and want you to go back. So like people are more happy when someone's depressed because it's like you're not bothering them. Like take that pill and shut up, Raquel, and go sleep. You know what I mean? But when somebody starts like voicing up and saying, you know what? No, I'm questioning this. No, I don't want to take a pill. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to figure out what's wrong with me. Like, we internally know something is not right. Something's not right. But so many times, and I can vouch for this, you guys, because I was just like that. Like, you don't want to look at stuff. Like, it's really hard to look at stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it knocks down the wall of every belief system that you've ever had in your life. Like I said, I don't know why I'm crying. Like, you know, well, maybe I do actually know why I'm crying. But just, it's so interesting how we can become so conditioned to believe that like, no, what you're feeling, Raquel, isn't normal. Like, no, that's not normal. Like, you need to go see the bishop or go see your pastor because, you know, maybe there's something else. Like, they want to fix you. They want to fix you. Like, don't start getting out crazy and start having all these different things and thoughts and stuff because you're going to mess my life up. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Like, please, God, you guys, please comment in the section below and let me know. Because, you know, I don't feel like I'm really alone here in this. And, so anyway, like I said, so the number 3 one was that I was, you know, I wasn't expecting a particular outcome. Like, does that make sense? Like, I wasn't expecting a certain outcome when I asked the universe all these questions and I was open, and then, you know, and then I started finding like Abraham Hicks and stuff, and I was like, oh, maybe this is the universe like showing me like, here's another little thing, and you might be interested in this. And like, that was my prayers in a sense, essentially my intentions that I had put out in the universe. I was receiving these answers and I was feeling really good about them. Now, mind you, I wasn't quick to go and tell every Tom, Dick, and Harry what I was feeling internally, because the first thing that, like I said, just previous to this, is that you're going to be shut down. So it's probably better, like, if you're experiencing any of these thoughts or feelings or anything like that, like, maybe just talk about them in your journal or something, you know, or put out an intention that you would love for the universe to, you know, send you someone that will help you feel comforted or inspired a little bit, you know, because there's nothing worse than like when you're on this journey and then you're feeling completely alone, like there's nowhere for you to go. Like you better start learning to rely on yourself, you know what I mean? And so I think the other thing, number 5 would be not getting attached. Like I never got attached. I mean, because my first big thing that I wanted to manifest was my soulmate. Now, that seems like, oh, Raquel, like I'm an all or nothing kind of person. And I don't know if there's a lot of Pisces out there that are very much the same way that I am, but it's all or nothing. Like I would probably be the worst alcoholic or the worst drug addict because I would be like, oh, let me just try everything and a ton of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't just go dabble in anything. Like, I go full throttle into everything in my life. And so, like, I know where I stand as far as that goes. But my thing was, so it was like, oh, okay, I'm going to manifest. What's the biggest thing that I can manifest? And so that's what I put out into the universe is like I started doing these focus wheels and I'm like, oh, I'm going to manifest my soulmate. Like, mind you, I'm in the thick of a 25-year marriage. I have 4 nearly grown children. We just moved to this state that I'm really not liking. And I'm like, I can't stand it here. And it wasn't just that. It's like I had been in states. I mean, we had moved, 21 times probably. And it wasn't that I wasn't equipped to completely get into the groove of like, okay, no, I can make this work. Like, I can accept this. This is how my life is right now. This is where we're at. It's not long-term, blah, blah, blah. Like, I had always intentionally, put out that thought process because I needed to make it wonderful for my children, right? And so, oh my God, this video is going way long. But anyway, I just really feel it's pertinent to express these particular things because they've really been weighing on my mind this morning after meditation. And so I wanted to, I don't know, somebody's probably out there that needs this video today, and I'm just throwing it and putting it into the universe after, and I know that it will be received with whoever decides or feels energetically inclined to watch it. But anyway, and so that's the one thing that I wanted. I was like, okay, I want to live where there's water. Like, this is baloney. Like, I want what I want now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I had gotten to the point where I was like, I was in my 40s and I thought, you know what? It's my turn. It's my turn. I want to live where the water is, and I couldn't handle it. And I mean, especially coming from California. I mean, and then you go to Oklahoma. Nothing against Oklahoma because it's a beautiful place. It really, really is beautiful. But I'm just one, like, there's mountain girls, there's city girls, there's country girls, there's beachy girls. And I am a water girl. I mean, I need to be near water. Like, it soothes my soul. I can't handle, I choose not to live where there's no water. I just can't. And I said, you know what? I want to live back near the water. I'm not staying here. And I think that totally alarmed my ex because he was like, what in the world? I mean, he was probably thinking, this woman has gone off the deep end. She is literally needs to be straitjacketed. She's crazy, and I can totally understand. Now, is that a possum in my yard? Anyway, but so, I just wanted to manifest those 2 things. And so I put those intentions out and I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to toy with this. Like, no outcome. Like, I wasn't expecting like, oh, in 2 months, I'm going to meet my soulmate twin flame. Like, that was I had no expectation of anything. I just thought, oh, it'll happen, but I just didn't know when or whatever. And so that's the one thing that you have to do is when you manifest, when you're manifesting, you can't expect, well, actually you do want to expect the outcome, but you just can't put like a time frame and like this and like put it into all these boxes of like, okay, well, this is how it's going to happen and this is how it's going to happen and I bet this will happen and this will happen, and then you start mentally like thinking about it, but you're putting contradicting beliefs in along with that, and you don't even realize you're doing it subconsciously. But because we're such people, like human beings, that we need to see to believe, whereas you need to go back to as a little child, like little children have this huge faith in God, like in their inner being. that they just believe and expect things to happen. And when you believe, like you just throw it out there, you believe that it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen because the universe has a way of bringing everything so synergistically together for you. You particularly, your particular way that you think, the way that you are, what you have that's contradicting. Like the universe has an overview of everything. We don't have an overview. So a lot of times we'll try to like work things, like fit that piece of puzzle in, like, no, this is how it's going to be. And oh, I bet that person. And then you start messing the whole thing up. So just realize that you have to let it go. And you can't be attached to what the outcome is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you just know with the surety that the universe loves you so much and the universe wants to give you exactly what you want, like exactly. But guess what? When you get it, you're not going to be like, oh my God, it's a miracle. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be like, and that's how it was with me. Like, I almost didn't even realize like what was happening. And then I'm like, yeah, I totally freaking manifested living near the water because I live right on the coast. Like the beach is like down the road. And I also manifested my soulmate twin flame in 2 freaking months. So you have to know that the universe has everything so aligned. Like you can't figure this out because like I said, the universe has an overview of everything. Like, okay, they make everything happen and it's not our job to do all that. Like our job is just to have the want and the desire, right? And then universe will manifest it for us. Anyway, and so I guess that was kind of number 6 as well, is that just allow and be in a really receptive mode of knowing that the universe is going to give you every single thing that you want. As long as you can do all of these 6 steps, right? Like you have to ask, you have to be receptive, you have to listen, you've got to take into account all of these different things that the universe is showing you as signs and everything. You have to be receptive and you can't be attached to an outcome. And so I hope these things helped you, and I hope, do you guys like that I have Oliver out here? Should I keep him out here more often because he's fun to look at? Anyway, I hope that this video helped you, and as always, I'm yours until my next swim. Ciao!